Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Bonnie Halper, and I read and welcome to our online investor insights, which we have every 2 weeks. I also write the weekly Startup One Stop newsletter, and help founders with their pitch decks, their strategy, make strategic introductions where and when appropriate. And I'm sorry I can't put anything into the chat because I'm on my phone today. We're having technical difficulties. And I want to thank Joseph Katz for helping us. Joseph, tell us about you.
Morning, Bonnie. Morning, everyone. I help startups go from unknown to well-known, from traction to scalable growth. Startups don't lack effort, they lack disciplined systems for growth. So for 15 to 20 plus years, I've been working with executive teams to help align revenue with building acquisition engines. So I'll put all my information in the chat. Everyone should feel free to do the same. We keep the intros short and excited for today's conversation.
Yes, let me see if I can. Oh, I can't see who's in the background. I'm sorry about this.
Okay, I'll play that role today, Bonnie. Damien, want to give a quick introduction?
Hi, I'm Damian Christensen out of Chicago. I help organizations with their AI governance. I also introduce founders and funders together where appropriate in a variety of different areas, especially around technology. So, welcome everybody, and nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much. Eric Becker.
Eric Becker, founder and CEO of Millimatch, and we make execution visible. So we have what we call a predictive execution risk index, and it pinpoints where execution risk is forming from a level, from a team, and what's causing it.
Ian.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Ian Garmes. I'm in Toronto. I'm the COO of a company called Virtual Film School in LA. We make short, funny videos for marketing purposes. I'll put my contact info in the chat.
And Scott Jones.
Hi, I'm a product leader with a European computer vision company called Realize, and I've been working on a lightweight human verification system that anonymously validates personhood, uniqueness, and demographics from a selfie without having to see government IDs, and working on bringing that into the gig economy and a variety of other verticals where traditional verification is now obsolete.
Tino.
Good morning. I'm the founder and CEO of Baru. We developed software and a marketplace to eliminate 60% of the cost structure of the $100 billion cabinet industry. We sell cabinetry to commercial and residential customers through channel partners.
Welcome, Francis. Maybe he's busy. Omid.
Since I am in the public transport, so I'll put my information in the chat.
Okay.
I'm joining from Ghana.
Wow. Thank you.
Joseph, I'm going to leave and come back and see if this is fixed.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Omid.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Omid Mokhtari. I'm the founder of Noxware. It's a startup medtech, or we call it age tech, a startup in Toronto. We developed a smart mattress cover with lots of sensors on it to prevent bed sores for senior people. We are currently testing it at a health network. I put my information in the chat. Thank you, Joseph.
Excellent. Scott Purdy.
Hey, Scott Purdy. I'm based out of Philadelphia in South Jersey, just outside of Philly, with an organization called Cine. We're developing a product that will take multiple inputs of video and media from any location, anywhere in the world at any time, and then the system will upload them into one professional quality movie or video in a very, very short amount of time, saving you, weeks and weeks of editing and things like that. Thank you.
And Vivian. Vivian, you'd like to introduce yourself? Okay, maybe busy. Well, thank you, everyone. Bonnie's back just in time to introduce our speaker.
I'm back. So have we gone through everybody?
We have.
Oh, so good. Welcome, and tell us a bit about you, your background, about the fund.
Sure. Yeah. Gadareth is how you pronounce my name. I go by Gad. Lead life sciences partner at Advantary Capital Partners. Advantary is actually a portmanteau of Advantage Factory. The advantages with Advantary are that one, we like to come in as lead investor on rounds, typically of about 3 to 30 million. Once we're dealing in the healthcare and life sciences space, and two, we also can get founders decision on a letter of intent, usually within 2 months, so saving you a lot of time. Within healthcare and life sciences, we are quite varied, and we're looking at health tech, med tech, biotech right now. And we're able to do this because we're a fundless sponsor, whereby each raise that we do, we direct into an SPV. And so we have a period of time where we syndicate the round, usually in about 3 to 5 months for each individual investment. So by way of background, quickly, from the Bahamas, so helped an oil terminal there get sold for over 3 times its purchase price, and got a master's at Yale in bioinformatics, then a PhD there in molecular biology. Used that had moved quickly through there and was able to go to McKinsey for 2 years before working at a startup, on oncology real world data startup, ConcertAI, where I started their precision oncology services business unit, and then left there after getting them their first client commitment, essentially to start a consultancy. And while helping one of my clients, I became a partner. I got referred in to be a partner. I connected with the partner there. And so that's my background.
Oops, sorry about that. I'm having such a hard time today with my Zoom. So yeah, you don't find many funds that focus on life sciences. Does everybody have a science background?
The life sciences partners there do. So me with the PhD in molecular biology, bioinformatics, Jacob Ryan, master's in biomedical engineering. He did a lot of his work in actually molecular biology. He did a lot of his studies in the central nervous system. Then he went on to like brain stimulation. He did quite a bit of work there. And the original life sciences partner had a chemistry PhD from Princeton. The other members of there are about 30 or so partners at Advantary.
I was wondering what other verticals you all might focus on.
Yeah, we also focus on, we have some fintech plays in place. We're quite broad, right? I mean, they actually state that they're sector and stage agnostic. But fintech is one that they do. Clean energy is another one that they're in. We have some ed tech companies recently coming through that I've seen. Yeah, so there's, I mean, generally, or because we're sector and stage agnostic, the main thing is we focus on some of the fundamentals, like 1, your team, 2, your market, 3, financials, 4, your traction, 5, your sort of your sort of runway, right? Like, well, that kind of plays into your financials quite a bit. But so those are some of the things that we look at and in assessing whether or not we will go through with a deal.
You know, you're talking about runway. I know when people do their decks, they usually put use of funds. And we had an investor who said, I want to know how long you can last with this one, how far this will take you, what the results will be. And I'm sure you guys have the same considerations.
That's correct. Not just how long the funds will give you once we give them to you, but how long you have even before you get the funds. Because Advantary because we take some time to syndicate the round, we need to make sure that you can last while we're syndicating the round. So even if you keep whatever your current burn rate is before you get funding, and how much you have in the bank, will you be able to last our syndication process, right? And so that's part of the reason why we look at that so astutely.
So what kind of traction are you looking for when founders approach you?
Yeah, so I can talk from the healthcare life sciences space because those are the companies I've assessed. So traction, we like to have companies that are already either done with their R&D enabling studies or like very close to a readout at the very least, right? So we like to have that aspect a little bit de-risked. So you're pretty much close to in humans or already have done maybe some first in human trials, that sort of thing. So that would apply to biotech, medtech to some extent. With health tech, you kind of already have to have some sort of commercial traction, right? Whether that's evidenced by revenues coming in or letters of intent and or contracts that will result in revenues coming in within a year or so.
So, I don't mean to claim the stage. Does anybody have any questions or any points they'd like to bring up?
I'm curious.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I have one.
Oh, Ian, go ahead.
Yeah, so guys, so obviously you work in bioinformatics. Now we all know about the story of Theranos, and just the idea of biomarkers being used as a way to quickly analyze blood samples. So that may be a poisoned the well. But I met somebody this week who has a startup in Toronto in that area, and I'm curious. I mean, do you still look at pitches like that, or are they completely off the table? I mean,
Yeah,
what is it?
so we do, but of course we're gonna look at it with a very a very keen and a keen and perceptive lens. Like we're really gonna deep dive, right? So I'll give you two examples. So we have a company that essentially is making it's using biomarkers as well, but it's going to be the world's first RNA-based AI foundational model for like oncology, right?
Right.
And so they have significant traction already. They have revenues, they have partnerships with like major players in the space in precision oncology. And
Right.
I had a connection with the founder. We'd done some work together before, so
Okay.
I wrote him in. I told him like what our process is, and we were able to offer him a letter of intent
Right.
for $7.5 million, right? So,
Okay.
right, so we, of course, we do our due diligence. They already have revenues. They already have traction. They're a later stage company, and it's just that one, this money will allow them to expand and develop quickly some of their focuses right now. Like, so they've done some like tumor microenvironment stuff. I think they're now looking at oncology ADC, so antibody drug conjugates.
Right.
And so this will help them to spec that out quickly and kind of activate what's already in the pipeline. So that's one positive example. Now I'm going to give you a negative example. So there was another company that was actually sticking with oncology ADC again. It was an oncology ADC company that wanted to get funding from us. And just to be very transparent about how Advantary works, we have a signing fee because we're a fundless sponsor. We create SPVs in order.
Right.
The whole process of creating an SPV, there's money upfront that goes into that, right? In addition to that, that's between the actual SPV structure, the legal structure, legal costs, other things. We have a signing fee that kind of offsets it. I don't think it covers everything that you would expect if you did that de novo. But we have a signing fee, and that signing fee gets the whole process started, and that's concurrent with our letter of intent or LOI. Now, we have that done, and then once that's done, we start with due diligence, which usually we can do in just a month or just 5 weeks or so, not too much more than a month. So we had a company that we'd gotten through the LOI, they paid the signing fee, and they were representing themselves as having significant traction with the FDA, and our lead, right, and
that's the key thing.
Yeah, our lead life sciences partner at the time, did due diligence on that one, and she was like, "Where's the communication with the FDA? Where is like they couldn't provide anything to back up what they were saying?" And so although we did due diligence on them, we decided not to move forward with them because once again, like we have to vet these things before we go through because we're not in this for the signing fee. We're in this for the long haul, the carried interest, the carried interest, the management fee, and most importantly, the impact that you're going to give to society, right? Like from a financial perspective and from an impact perspective. And if you don't have the traction that you're claiming, one, first of all, you lied to us. That's one.
Yeah.
And two, how are we going to sell this to our LPs in order to get you funded, right? So we actually decided not to move forward with that. And so that's an example. On the positive side, almost roughly the same thing. I mean, biomarker, not with Theranos, not what Elizabeth Holmes is doing, but essentially we're using biomarkers. One from more like a more digital perspective, the next one more therapeutics perspective. But we are we're pretty astute in making sure that you're doing what you say you're doing. If you are doing what you say you're doing, then we're going to raise for you. We're going to get it done. Like we have all the mechanisms in place to make sure that you get funding.
Well, those are very, very useful examples. The question is that the first one, the one that you did they have like communications with the FDA underway, or did they not need it?
Yeah. So with their case, we actually haven't done due diligence on them yet. But from our we do a pre-screening, right? And so due diligence, once we do due diligence, that's when we find out for sure where you're at, right? So that happens before the term sheet and the raise, right? And so we would have to deep dive into that. But I have a very strong connection with the founder. He's straight up. He's no nonsense. He's not a bullshitter. So if he's whatever he says he probably has. So I'm pretty confident if we're able to if we're able to essentially clear this letter of intent path, and it's good with his legal, it's good with his board. I'm sure we'll raise for him. He's a good prospect.
Well, so based on what you said, so I've sent you a LinkedIn connection request. Would it be okay if I introduce you to this other fellow?
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate that. And you actually remind me, I need to put my LinkedIn stuff in the chat. I should put my Advantary email in the chat. And then I should put I'll put 3 links in the chat. One, if you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, I'll put it in shortly. My LinkedIn information. 2, of my Advantary email. If you have a pitch deck you want to send there, or just if you submit to Advantary, please, I ask, because we have so much deal flow, please just send me an email saying, hey, Gad, we met on Bonnie's event. Because I want to make sure that I shepherd you through the process, right? I don't want you to just come in like some random founder. So send me an email, and then the third part is essentially I'll just like if you want to talk, you want to have a longer talk or a call, I can essentially I'll put 3 links in the chat very shortly. Just give me a few seconds to tally them.
And just to be clear, it's not me, it's my friend's startup, right? So
absolutely.
So I'll keep what you've said in mind.
Absolutely. Great question.
All right, thank you.
I have a question for you. We talk to lots of different funding folks, VCs of various shapes and sizes. I don't think we actually had a biotech person on, Bonnie, right?
No, I wanted to get somebody. I was very happy to encounter Gad, and thank you, Gad, for taking the time.
So I worked in the medtech space for a short while, and the one thing I learned in that experience was, compared to other tech businesses, it's a much longer road, right? So what do you guys look for in terms of the runway, in terms of the potential exit strategies? This is not a 5 or 6 or 7 year deal. It's probably a 10, 15, maybe 20-year deal. I don't know. So I'm just curious how you guys look at these things.
Yeah, so medtech actually, within life sciences, medtech is actually shorter than biotech. Biotech is just insane. And biotech is boom or bust, right?
Yeah, it is.
It's like either you making billions or hundreds of millions, or you're in debt, right? So it's high risk, high reward. MedTech we actually liken compared to the rest of life sciences. So what we look for specifically are, like with MedTech, you're gonna have some 510(k) clearance milestones, or you may have a certain, depending on if you have some sort of uh, if you have a device which is similar in nature that you can lean on and say, hey, we're tapping, we're going to go through the same path that they went through, that helps. If you are close to already have 510K clearance, that's wonderful. As compared to in biotech, we look at, as I already mentioned, IND enabling studies either done or close to being done. And then exit pathway was something you mentioned. Yeah, so exits, if you're exited in about 2 to 3 years, that'd be great. And I know you mentioned 10, 20. That's usually way too early for Advantary because once again, we're looking at people. MedTech raises tend to be a little smaller than biotech raises generally because it's less research intensive. And they tend to be a safer bet for us, to be honest, right? So by the time you're raising the amount that Advantary would want to see on a medtech play, you're pretty much you've gone through the initial research stuff that could take 5-10 years or whatever. You're closer to like commercialization, so you should be.
I
Go ahead.
missed it. What stage do you invest in? I forgot.
That's right. I didn't actually explicitly state it. I only said it, the amount, but the stage is generally late seed all the way up to like Series C. So
Okay.
that corresponds with like the 3 million to 30 million in life sciences and healthcare space. Of course, it depends on what vertical you're in. Like literally, I have a contact of mine who submitted his profile recently. He's Series A. It's $100 million raise, right? It's but
good for him.
but it's circular RNA. He can do that. Like you have Orbital that just got acquired by BMS, and when I say just, it's been like October of last year. Orbital got acquired by BMS for like 1.5, I think, 1.5 billion. And then you have Orno that recently got acquired for I think 2.4 billion, right? And these companies aren't even that far ahead of him. They're less than a year ahead of him. So he originally did like a $3 or $5 million raise before, and then he just decided, hey, we're just gonna jump and have a price round. He spoke with enough investors who were down with his valuation, and he's going for $100 million raise. So he also recently submitted to Advantary. I'm having a call with him in about 2 weeks. It would be next week, but I'll be in Miami for Investable Showcase. So the following week we'll connect. I'm looking forward to that. So that it's a pretty impressive human being, and the team he's put together is solid. But it just depends on the vertical, is what I said. I'm saying, right? So, but generally late seed to about Series C is typically what we look at, and each thing is unique. But within sectors, there are certain milestones we have, and I can only really tell you, like the med tech sector, what we look at, the biotech sector, what we look at, and the health tech sector we look at, because that's where I'm focused within Advantary. But if anybody else is like, I mean, if you're raising, I've heard various founders are doing different things here, like outside of health tech. If your raise amount, at the very least, if your raise amount is over 3 million, and we've actually syndicated rounds of up to about 300 million outside of healthcare and life sciences. Or like we're in the process of doing some syndication for, I guess it's a sports team. I think it's like that's our biggest one that we have right now. It's like 300 million. So we can go pretty, we range from VC all the way up to PE. So please just feel free. And I haven't put my stuff in the chat, but I'm working to type it up, and then I'll drop it in very shortly. I'll let you know once I do that.
I know we have to give you a minute.
Yeah, no worries, no worries.
Because I have a question, but I don't want to interrupt.
No, please.
Okay. So very important question. It's always one of the most difficult things for founders is finding the lead. I know you syndicate. Do you all lead?
Yeah. That was the first of our advantages. We lead. We like to lead. Yeah, we like to lead, and then and then the second thing is that we get you a decision on LOI within about 2 months, like max, after submitting your profile. So we do like to lead, yeah.
And then I'm assuming that you do follow on as well.
Yes, we do follow on as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
I'll throw another question at you if no one else has one.
No worries.
I mean, AI obviously is a hot topic. What are you seeing in the biomed, space? There's supposed to be a lot of, opportunity because of AI to, discover new medical solutions, right? And, however you want to define that. So I'm just curious what you're seeing and what you're evaluating as it relates to that space.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly let everybody know I just dropped my stuff in the chat, so I should be there. So LinkedIn, email, link to chat more. So in the AI space, that same AI foundational model company is one that we're pretty excited about. That's one in the AI space. We haven't started with them, but we've given them an LOI, so they're looking at it and going through it and vetting it. Another AI space, an AI play that we're doing right now is on essentially optimizing clinician workflows. This was my first due diligence that I did. And this is important because apparently nowadays clinicians are spending like over 60% of their time on administrative tasks. So they don't have as much time to actually practice and really like hear and listen to the patients, right? And so this platform that this founder that we're funding, I think it's a $5 or $6 million play. We're funding essentially like optimizes that entire administrative workflow and kind of automates a lot of the tasks to make it easier to give back the clinician a lot of time. They have some traction with Mayo. They have some other big partners along with them. The founder has experience with like autonomous vehicles. Previously, he was like a lead there. That's where he made a lot of his money, and he has put a lot of his own money into the company. So when you see people doing things like, well, first of all, they have to be able to get to the point to do that, right? First of all, so you've had the network, you have the experience, the expertise to get to the point where you can do that, and then second of all, they're in it when they're putting that much of their money into the company, right? And so that's two things that works for him. And then he's had like a lot of traction and recognition from various publications and entities. And so we feel very positive about that. We just started syndicating his round about a month and a half ago or so. And so we're looking to close that off in maybe 2 to 4 months, I would say. So that's a good one. I would also state that from the perspective of just stepping out of just Advantary and just what I think is pretty cool right now, concierge health is big. And so the ability to like diagnose things, it kind of plays into, I don't know if any of you, I'm sure at least some of you have read Outlive by Peter Attia. But I'll just give a quick summary of what it talks about. It talks a lot more about health span as opposed to just lifespan, and the ability to really optimize and prevent diseases rather than simply treat them after the fact. A core tenet of the book was really that there are about 5 major things that you want to levers that you can pull for health. And one that's like sleep is one of them. Exercise is another one. I think you said exogenous compounds like medications is another one. Nutrition, and then mental health, right? So those are 5 things that you need to focus on. Most of us ignore at least 1, 2, who knows, maybe even 3 of them, right? And so, however, if AI can play a role in assessing where you are with these various things, going back to utilizing biomarkers, right? So you look at biomarkers and things such as like calcification of arteries or your blood vessels could be one. There's a test that you can do for that. Of course, the ones that everybody know, like your A1C, your blood sugar, of course, your weight. That's an easy, simple one to know. Just lifestyle habits and some of those things. So I think, just to get back to your original question, I think AI has the potential really to revolutionize the way we preserve our health, right? So putting our health kind of more in the hands of wearables. The blowing up of, when I say blowing up, I have to be careful when I use that word, but what I mean is the proliferation of wearables and the success of some of those wearables is speaking to that, right? People now have the ability to put more of their health in their own hands. And I think AI will help with assessing that and keeping you on track with all of that, even before you even get to the doctor.
You know, I've noticed something lately, and I'd like you to comment on it, that I keep hearing death being referred to as a disease. I'm sure you've heard it as well. Considering biomarkers and given your background in science, what do you think of that? Since you've looked at it, you've spent quite a few years in that area.
Yeah, and you said, let me make sure I understood what you said. Right? You keep hearing what referred to as a disease?
Death. Death, literally death, that people die. It's referred to as a disease. And I'm not kidding, I see it more and more.
Interesting. Huh. Wow. Well, I guess from the perspective of, hey, we're trying to eradicate things or eliminate things, I know there is a push, particularly from the high net worth individuals in Silicon Valley. A lot of them, I mean, even Sam Altman is one of them.
Yeah, transhumanism.
To try to live almost forever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, extend life almost indefinitely, and I mean, but you have to be practical, right? But like, it's part of it is probably salesmanship. If you're selling a person on the prospect of something, like the goal is so massive, it's so big, it's so wonderful, it's so amazing for everyone. It's easier to get people on board for some massive, crazy goal than it is to say, oh, we're gonna extend lifespan for 10 years. Even if in going after that crazy goal, what you end up getting is the practical aspect of the extension of life for 10, maybe 20 years. I think I mean we have millennia that we've been around now, right? Not saying if it was possible we would have done it already, because there are things we're doing now that we haven't done. And if it is possible, it's only more possible now than it was before. But that is a extremely heavy lift, right? Right. I think there's the futurist Ray Kurzweil. He said something to the effect of, I think he's on like a ton of pills every day to kind of to essentially get more in lifespan that he's losing as time passes. So he's kind of like at least staying even. That's his intention. But I mean, to be honest, like there's just stochastic events, like accidents that could also just screw that up, right? Like, I mean, there's just so many things that could go wrong. I think the goal is probably a worthy one, but in actuality, I don't think we'll conquer death, like just point blank.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I can't believe it when like I said, I see it showing up more and more.
Yeah.
Like you have a cold. Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, next question from the audience.
Well, I'll ask one more again. What about just medical devices, like not treatments, but some sort of physical technology to resolve some health condition? Do you invest in those kinds of projects?
Yeah. So another contact of mine that I brought into Advantary, essentially is actually focused on lymphedema. So lymphedema is, I'll give a quick intro to lymphedema. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So lymphedema is, it typically affects people after breast cancer surgery, like after surgical resection of breast or mastectomy, because now, so you're moving the breast from that area, and right around there, you have a lot of lymph nodes, and essentially what happens is there's like a dysregulation and swelling that occurs. And so this particular company that we just wrote a letter of intent for earlier this week, I personally did it, essentially has a device. It's a medical device that aids, it doesn't cure lymphedema, but it treats and makes it easier and increases the quality of life for people with lymphedema. So yeah, So once again, Advantary is pretty broad in its reach. So I think the appeal of Advantary is pretty great. Of course, we're early in the life sciences space. We just got started about last April with the first life sciences partner. So, or a lot of what we have a ton of deal flow. Right now, it's a matter of closing and making deals and raising for them. But I would say it's an exciting time to be there, and it has a lot of value to a lot of companies because of because of its reach and its interest being so broad. So yeah, medical devices, practical diseases like that. I know another person where this isn't an Advantary client or potential portfolio is focused on something like ascites. So that's like where ascites, like you essentially generally it generally comes about from people. It tends to come about from people who may have been alcoholics, but essentially it's when some of the internal organs, I believe, you can check up to confirm. The liver essentially has a major issue and kind of leads to kind of similar issues. There's no cure for ascites. Essentially, you're gonna practically die or live for not too long and not a high quality of life. But there's a person I was put into contact with. Her dad is like a surgeon in the space. Had a friend who died of it, and just used his money and his previous success as a surgeon to just like combat it, right? And so something like that. I'm just giving you that as an example. That would be straight up our line. Like if they came to us or if we contacted them, the amount was right. Their regulatory path was clear enough or close enough. That would be someone we would definitely fund for sure.
Okay, well, in that case, I have somebody else to introduce you to, so hopefully that will.
Okay.
But just a quick follow. I mean, there's a lot of talk that a lot of women's medical issues are kind of neglected.
Yeah.
What is your experience with that or thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I'll go right back to the medical device company I just spoke to you about. That's focused on lymphedema because that's essentially women's health. Right. It's not only women's health, but it affects women at more than twice the rate men, right? Because of one, the affiliation with breast cancer and lymphedema. No, that's the biggest right now. Yeah. That's the biggest reason why it's more of a women's health issue. But definitely we have our original life sciences partner, the Princeton chemistry PhD was a woman. So she was definitely interested in women's health issues, not simply because she was a woman, but because she saw the benefit from it from a financial perspective and from an impact perspective. We have a syndication partner who recently came on around the same time as me, super interested and into women's health issues as well. She ran her own digital health company back in the day before like doing raises, and I think she was involved with investment banking before coming to Advantary. So women's health is definitely something that we see as important. That lymphedema client is one, or potential portco is one that we're actively working on, but we're open to that as well.
Great. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I know that investors look for big markets, and there are certain diseases and syndromes that don't have big markets, but there's still a quality of life issue. So do you look at those companies too? Even though you might not.
Yes, although I would say markets like literally is like number 2 on our, I want to say not number 2 in priority, but number 2 on the list of like, we have like, there's like 10 things. There's team, there's market. Right. I would say the most important of the 10 would probably be the deal itself, right? So the deal itself would be one, but you can't really do much about that. It's just the deal is the deal, right? You could get a better deal if you're looking at a later stage, maybe. The team is, I think, super important because of your previous successes. I think that's really key. So the deal, you can't really do much about. The team, you can. The traction, you can. And then the product itself, right? So the 3 things there, out of the 4 things I just gave you, 3 of them you can do something about, right? The first one that you can't do anything about is unfortunately one of the most important things for Advantary. But the other 3, the team, the product and the traction, you can do something about, right? So I just pull on the levers that you can pull on, and then in a later, if it's a later raise, if it requires that your deal gets better in a later raise, then come back to Advantary then.
Okay. I was just wondering. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So, next question. I got my question too. So, is there any general advice you would give?
Yeah. General advice. Very similar to what I've already said about the team. First thing, the team is probably the most important thing that you should optimize for. Try to get people on your team who have previous exits. If you can't get them on your executive board, get them on your advisory board. If you can't pay them in cash, pay them in equity, whatever, just get it. It's super helpful. One, that's team advice. From the advice of your materials, do not skimp on your materials. Bonnie does an excellent job with pitch decks. I've heard of what she's done. Like, she literally turned around somebody's pitch deck. They contacted the same investors they went out to before, and they got funding from them. So check Bonnie for getting your materials together. Make sure your materials are together, whether it's the one pager, the pitch deck, the financial model, the if you need a market research report, get that together too. So that's the second thing I would say. And then the third thing is your outreach. You need to prioritize. You need to really work through people who know the people that would invest in, right? So ideally, they have connections with investors. That would be one, or they are investors themselves. That would be two, or both, right? That's how you get funded. So that's my three pieces of advice. I usually give that to people even I chat with, just generally. So it's super applicable here.
Okay, so I have a comment on the team, since we're talking about biotech medical devices, and you said previous exits are important and maybe even critical.
Yeah.
Now, well, what about subject matter experts? I mean,
yeah. So I definitely I don't even bother saying that, because almost everybody I've spoken to has like a strong enough technical team from that perspective. At least in the biotech world, that's like a non-starter. It's like table stakes. Right.
Okay.
If you don't have the technical expertise, how are you going to create the product properly? How people going to even trust that this works? So
No, I'm not talking about technical expertise. I'm talking about subject matter experts in the issue or the disease or whatever that they're addressing.
yeah. People generally do a good job on it, but it works stating that you should definitely have sufficient subject matter experts either on your advisory board, in your team, or like KOLs you've reached out to and like done market research that you can use to back up what you're doing. Absolutely. That part kind of goes into what I was saying with scoping out your product itself, right? In order to have a solid product, you really have to have done your research. So that you definitely have to do. Yeah, I totally agree.
Oh, and of course, what I call their superpowers. What sets them apart from everybody else? That absolutely has to be part of the offering.
Yeah.
That you look for. Okay, if nobody has any questions.
Well, I have one question about the outreach I got.
Sure.
So like it still seems to be problematic in many ways for how people connect with investors. I'm sure you know about this SEC broker dealer rule, which basically says you cannot take a commission for introducing somebody. And there seem to be various ways that people get around this. One way is by setting up some kind of an arrangement to have a consulting contract in the event. So what do you know about that, or what do you say about that sort of approach?
Yeah, I think you have to really talk with the individual provider, and also you as a founder would have to kind of ideally come to, well, the founder and the service provider or consultant would have to come to an agreement on what they're comfortable with.
Right.
I think the broker dealer designation precludes, unless you have a broker dealer license, then essentially what you're prevented from doing is taking a direct percentage of what
Right.
is raised as a commission for it, which then means a few things. If you don't have that license, what you can do is provide consulting services in order to provide such either connections.
Right.
And the problem, however, is like you're caught in a catch-22 sort of situation, because a lot of startup founders really like to pay only on success fees.
Right.
Right. And so if you don't have a broker-dealer license, then the correct way to do is have consulting, sort of have everything spec'd out as prices for such a raise, and how people pay you up front, generally, or have you can have some sort of something on the back end that isn't directly related to a percentage of what was raised, like a consulting agreement after the fact,
Right.
or some sort of tiered bonus. So I know a lot of people in the space, and I connected a while back. I connected with a BD expert. She's not a broker dealer, but she spent like $10,000 on her contract to make sure that it was airtight, just for the same, because she's not a broker dealer, right? And so, like, there are definite ways around it, but you just have to be very careful, and most importantly, also make sure that the comfort level between the founder and the service provider or consultant is that you're aligned, right? Like, if the person doesn't want to do anything on the tail end, then it is what it is, right? So it's a delicate line, balance that you have to strike, a line that you have to walk.
Right. So solid legal advice is very, very important.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I have a few contacts in legal. I'm sure Bonnie has a ton of contacts in legal she could put you in contact with as well.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah.
It's something that comes up again and again. And most people do come on as consultants, but usually when we do that, we're still working with the company. We don't just disappear. Because we with them early on. So, and you can never take a percentage.
Right.
That is a definite no. Never. Well, if there are no other questions, or you
I
don't
have a
want
question.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Yeah. I work with the University of Toronto Entrepreneurship, and I have my own practice as well. Do you invest in international companies? So I'm located in Canada, and I have a number of companies under my purview that might fall, under your interest.
Yeah, absolutely, we do. Canada is Canada isn't part of the US. Oh, I should stop. That's a bad joke.
Don't even.
Mark Carney and crew would come after me for saying something. I'm surprised.
I'll come after you. Never
I'm
mind.
just about to say. Yeah. So we're very friendly with Canada, despite our grievances between the two leaders right now. Canada is like, and in terms of Advantary's perspective, we look at Canada as like the next best geography that we would invest in. We also typically we're global, right? So we consider companies from across the world. The only things we wouldn't invest in, obviously, right now is Iran, North Korea, like really like conflict-ridden zones that you can't practically get anything done. So Europe, Canada, I would say Asia. I would say from the perspective of we also want to make sure that the companies that we have, like the dollar is kind of close to on par with ours, right? Like, so like companies where the dollar is maybe where the dollar and the economy is so different from the US's economy might pose a little bit of a problem. But apart from that and conflict-ridden zones, I think we're open to investment. So Canada's right up our alley. Yeah.
Okay, great to hear.
And did you come on before or after I posted my stuff in the chat? Do you want me to post it again? I posted my information. Do you want me to post it? Do you see it? It's on 10:04.
Yes.
You see it? Okay. Cool.
I've already reached out on LinkedIn,
Okay,
and
perfect,
I have the email as well.
Okay,
Thank
awesome,
you.
awesome. Great. Yeah, no worries.
Angela's one of those people who shows up on time, even though she is in Toronto.
Cool.
So I didn't mean to cut anybody up. Anybody else? Oh, yes, Lon, go.
Lon has his hand up.
Yes. So, yeah, great presentation.
Thanks.
I know you mentioned, in the scope of things that you would consider, organized materials, pitch deck, one-sheeter, and then you mentioned market research reports. I wonder, and just for disclosure, I run a market research company.
Oh, great.
Does mostly primary research. So we're doing things like usability testing, focus groups, ethnographic research. How, from your perspective, how much do you push or like to see that startups have done this type of research, and how much does it weigh in your kind of overall opinion as you're considering investments?
Yeah, so it weighs a lot, but not directly from the perspective of I need to see your market research report. It weighs a lot more because it plays in very carefully into what sort of strategy you have for commercialization, for even how you're going to expand your product, whether it's organically or through acquisition or that all that sorts of thing. So it's more important to you than it is to us. And we can tell if you've done it just based on output, right? Just based on what your product looks like, based on your strategy, based on everything else that's in your pitch deck. So that's why it's important per se. So now it would, as someone who provides it, it's just, of course, you have to sell that importance. But you kind of come in really early, you should be in well before they're doing outreach to investors. Right?
Yep.
They should know exactly what their market is and how they're targeting and all of that. So I think it's a good connection between you, Bonnie, and then me on the tail end with investments, to be honest.
Yep. Thank you. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So, any last questions?
Oh, there's a question in the chat from somebody.
Oh, cool. Let me scroll down and check it out. Okay, let's see what we got.
It just asks if you invest in Africa, Ghana specifically.
So I would think that would be, I would have to check with our managing director, but from the perspective of economy, we would have to, I would think the company would have to be pretty later stage for us to invest in. One, because of, as I mentioned, in terms of making sure that the economies are close on scale. So for instance, there are companies whereby the dollar is worth a ton of, let's say, yen, for instance, but those economies are like, when you look at it overall, the economies are like growing pretty rapidly, and like the actual scale of the economy compared to the US is pretty close. In the case of Ghana, we would have to make sure that we have significant traction, and their ask would have to still meet or cut off in terms of the ask. The amount would have to be at least the 3 million, and two, the burn and run rate would have to be generally, I don't even know if I fully answered the question, but it was asked. The runway is typically, you ideally should have at least 6 months, ideally closer to 9 months of runway based on your current burn in order to facilitate our process, right? And so if you can do those things and you have significant traction, you can pass or things, I don't see why not, right? It's not conflict ridden per se, but the economy aspect is a little bit removed from, or not as much as or as close to that of the US. But yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah. When you're picking companies that you choose to invest in, do you stay within your realm of expertise, or do you sometimes venture out into other areas that might be a little new to you?
Yeah, so specifically, I'm mostly health tech, med tech, biotech. However, I just was on a call. It's funny you asked this. The first call that wasn't health tech, med tech, or biotech was just earlier this week for me, at Advantary, that is. So it was a company that's mostly ed tech. So I won't say it's fully out of my realm, because I actually created ed tech company, not company per se. It wasn't monetized, but while I was in grad school, I created a site to help. And I could have monetized it if I wasn't directly going into consulting, and they just prevented me from doing that. But essentially, I created a site to help grad students find advisors. So personally, we tend to stick within our realm, but because we have 30 partners, our realm is wide, right? So what we'll typically do is, instead of us taking the call on ourselves, we would just pass it on, or bring on someone who has expertise, and try to find someone who has expertise in that to come onto the call with us.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else? Questions or comments? Well, I want to thank you, Gad, especially since I am technically handicapped today, and Joseph for taking the reins. I really appreciate it, and I'm glad it was you that was here, Gad, and good job. Thank you. And
Thank you. My pleasure. And anytime, if you want to reconnect at some point in the future, just hit me up.
Okay, thank you everybody for being here, and we'll see you in a few weeks.
Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you. Great call. Thanks so much.